All right, we're going to get started with our lesson, and today we're going to be talking about some style rules that we can apply or properties that we can apply to text generally. And so we're going to be changing color of text, which you've already worked with. We're going to be moving text aligning to the left, right, center. We're going to be able to do some decorating. We're also going to be talking about how to make text uppercase or lowercase, even reverse the direction that text is going, set spaces between lines, set spaces between words, set spaces between the letters in words. Okay, so we're going to come in here, and I have our style sheet set up. We have Gettysburg Address here. We got an H1 tag, H2 tag, H3 tag, and then we got 3 paragraphs that we're going to be working with. All right. Our first assignment is to change the color of the text in the P tag. That's pretty straightforward. We know how to do that, right? So we're going to do color equals, let's say blue, and save workshop web page. Great. Good times. All right. Then we want to change the alignment of the text. And so let's change the alignment of the text and say text align equals right. So in this situation, we want to do a right justification. Save. There it is. Great. You can see how it's rather than leaning up against the left, it's leaning up against the right. If we wanted to, we could have that go to the left. It's kind of more what we typically would see. And then we can justify, and this is where it spreads out the words so that they all fit, and basically the words are aligned on the left and on the right. So let's see that. The right justify? Doesn't look like it did anything. But it probably is. Let's compare that to just left and see if we... Okay. All right, so then we want to change the decoration of the H1, H2, and H3 tags. And basically what we're talking about here is, do they have a line over them, a line under them, and a line through? So we're going to go into our H1 tag, H1 curly Q, and we're going to do text decoration. And let's do an overline and see what that looks like. Okay, you can see there's a line over the Gettysburg Address. Then let's take a look at, let's do H2, and let's see what an underline looks like. Now everybody's seen an underline, so that's no big deal. There's an underline. And then let's say that we want to do H3, and we want to do a line through. Okay, so it's like a strike through. I'm just going to, out of respect for Lincoln, I'm going to change this and have that be an underline and have that be a line through. Okay, oops. Great. All right, so next thing we want to do here is set space between characters. So this is basically right here. Right now this has a consistent space between characters, but what if we wanted to make it spread out a little bit more? So let's take the Gettysburg Address and let's give a space between the characters of letter spacing, and we have to decide how many pixels do we want. So let's say 2 pixels and see what that looks like. Okay, now let's see if we made that bigger and said 10 pixels. What would that look like? See how it starts spreading out there? All right, so that's good. We'll do that. And then we want to create a class that allows us to have uppercase, lowercase, and capitalize. So this is going to go down into our different paragraphs. Right now, all of our paragraphs are capital, first letter, and then just moving on whatever we do. But we can either make everything uppercase, take the text, make everything lowercase, or we can have every word have it be capitalized. All right, and we can do that using a tag. So what we're going to do here is, first off, let's come here and say that we want to do text. It's called transforming the text. Transform equals uppercase. Okay? So now we've just taken it and it's changed every word in the P tag to be uppercase. But I don't want you to do that. What I want you to do is I want you to create a P and then a class that we're going to use to distinguish between our different paragraphs. So what we're doing right now is if we were just creating a class, which we could certainly do, and we call it para1, and let's say we have another class for para2, and then we have another class for para3. Whoops. And we could come in here and we could say text, let's just copy this, text transform equals uppercase, and then we have text transform equals lowercase, and then we have text transform equals what's called capitalize. Okay. Now what's good about that is that we can then go in here to the P, and if we want to, we could say P class equals para2, right? Let's see what that does. So everything, this is capital, and then this changes and moves it down to lowercase. But what I want you to do is I want you to see that we can actually make a class so that it only applies to a specific element. So let's say we do P, we type in P dot para and P dot para2 and then P dot para3. So now the only time this class is going to work is if I put it in, if I attach it to the P element. So what does that mean? That if I go in here, let's say that I want to take para1 and I want to attach it to here, h2 class equals para2. If that was just a class, if it was like this, that would work fine, right? Watch. Well, that's all right. So delivered by, it changes it to lowercase. But because I have it as a P, so right now that's capital D delivered by. I transformed it using the case, but now because this class is associated only with a P element, now even though I have that class attached to H2, the browser is going to disregard it. It's not going to let me use it. Right? So it just skips it, and you see this is capitalized even though the class says to have it be lowercase. So why do that? Basically, so we're saying, we're letting the person who's programming know that these classes are only going to be available to the P element. So let's come in down here and let's put these classes attached. Para1, para2, para3. Okay. Save work, show web page. So now we've got this one is, wait, what happened to one of our, did we lose a paragraph? Hold on. Hold your horses. Oh, forgot to put a end browser or end bracket. That'll do it. All right, so we have this being capitalized, we have this being uncapitalized, and we have this being, or this is uppercase, this is lowercase, and then this is capitalized. All right, so what I wanted you to do is create a class for uppercase, lowercase, and capitalize and see the results. Now I want you to use a text indent to indent your paragraph. So let's just put that here on the first paragraph, text indent, or it's a text indent, and then you can tell how many pixels you want. So we'll do 50 pixels. Great, so now that's indented. And then I want you to set the space between the lines on one of your paragraphs. So we're going to do line height equals 70%. And let's see how that looks. So you can see that makes it, rather than where this is 100% kind of normal, this is shrinking it. So let's say that we wanted to have that be 120%. Well, then that's going to make it bigger. Okay, I think actually maybe that doesn't. Maybe it's only for a portion of that. So if we want to make the line height a little smaller, we can do that. So we'll say 90%. Okay, you can see it's a little smaller. And then we want to increase the space between the words. So we're going to use word spacing. So let's do in our first one here, or actually in our second one, let's do word spacing. And this is saying how many pixels do you want to go between your words. So let's do 30 pixels. That's going to be pretty big, I bet. You see? So that's giving us 30 pixels between each word. Now that's different, remember, than what we did up here, which was letter spacing. Okay, so word spacing versus letter spacing. And then I have 2 extra credit assignments. One is to change the text direction. So let's take a look here at our web page. We scroll down and we see this. There's a little piece of text there that says reverse this text. All right, so let's take a look at that. I go down here, div reverse this text. So what we want to do is create a class using the code that enables us to reverse the text. And the class that we're going to use here, so let's do a class, right, period, class. Let's call that reverse. You can use whatever you want there, whatever term you want. And what we're going to use, let's go over to our assignment. It says change text direction. So we're going to say direction equals RTL. Okay. So you don't need to put that into your code because the default. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I misread that. We read from left to right. So we're saying the direction is RTL, which is right to left. And then we do another little piece of code. You can just copy this, and I don't even know what this means, but it's something that we have to put in there, which is Unicode bitty override. So just copy that from the assignment, and then we need to apply that tag down here. So now, if we click Save Work and Show Web Page, look, now this is reverse. The text was reversed. Pretty cool, huh? And then the last thing I want you to do on the extra credit is create a text shadow effect. Okay, so what we want to do is go into one of our H1s. Let's do the Gettysburg Address. And we want to create a text shadow event. So we do text shadow. And then the question is, how many pixels do you want to go out? And we'll just look at that. So 2 pixels, 2 pixels. And then we're going to do blue, let's say. Right? And now there's a little warning here, which is this will not work on Internet Explorer version 9 and earlier. Not sure what you're working on. But if you don't see this effect and your code is right, then just assume that it's a browser issue that you're working with. This is something that's going to come up, but style sheets try to notify us if there's something that's not going to work on a specific browser, and of course we'll notify you. So save work and show web page. So you see it kind of created a shadow effect here, and let's change that around. Oh, whoops, I'm sorry, you weren't seeing that. Okay, so here it is. You can see the shadow effect. Let's see what happens if we change the shadow effect. Where's the H1 here? Right here. So let's see what would be that if it's 4 pixels. 4 pixels. All right, so that looks like it separates it out a little bit more. So let's say we did 2 pixels and 4 pixels. What does that look like? Okay, so I would play around with it. I can't really tell what that. I can't really tell what I would want to do, but that's where you can play around with your codes and see what happens. All right, so in this case, you've done all your assignments. Great job.